catching fish. This is kind of like homeroom or classroom discussion. These are some of the things that you need to know before you go out on the lake and start fishing. Keeping it simple. The main thing, what type of spinnerbait should I use based on the conditions? For an example, you have a spinnerbait with a large Colorado blade. Now what I mean by a Colorado blade, notice how it looks like a teardrop. Big round blade at the bottom, looks just like a teardrop. That's called a Colorado blade. And the purpose of using this particular blade is to create vibration. The larger this blade is, the more vibration it's going to create. It is especially good if you're fishing a spinnerbait in stained water, muddy water, or deep water. This is known as a ledge buster. There's an ounce of lead on the spinnerbait. It takes an ounce of lead to make this spinnerbait. And the purpose of it is during those summer months when the fish are deep. They're hanging on the ledges, primarily used during the summer months. It's called a ledge buster. It's real simple to operate. You fish it real slow, enough so you can feel the vibration from the Colorado blade and wait on the strike. Now that is about as simple as you can make it. There's nothing else I can add to it. Only thing else that I can say, if you're going to be fishing stained water, you might want to go with a white blade and a white skirt. If you're fishing clear water, the skirt with the glitter in it, off-white with a little bit of darkness in it, it's just fine. Or you might want to use something, just a solid white skirt on it. All of that is fine. The key thing is to make sure that you use the spinnerbait right. Don't work it too fast. And in most cases, I don't think you can work it slow enough as long as you can feel the thump. Now look at this blade. It's like a leaf. It's called a willow leaf spinnerbait. This spinnerbait is to be used in shallow water, clear water, or murky water, around grass beds, trees, shallow water stumps, or brush. It's really simple. You want to throw it out, you want to reel it parallel to grass beds. If you find little small pockets right inside the grass bed lines, it's fine to throw it in there. But the key thing is that you want to work it along the grass beds. You also need to work this around laydowns, stumps, rocks, riffraffs. It's all fine. There's no problem. Now you're going to say, well, I got a willow leaf with the chartreuse in white. I got almost a solid green. Do I put a trail on it? Do I fish a complete solid chartreuse with chartreuse blades? Yes, you're going to fish all of these because there are going to be certain times when each spinnerbait is going to work based on the conditions that you're going to be facing. If you're fishing clear water, I strongly encourage you to fish a white with some type of darkness in it, whether it be black strings, blue strings. It'll work just fine. In clear water, I like nickel blades. I'll use a nickel blade, and sometime I'll offset it with a copper blade. But if I had two nickel blades on here, I wouldn't be upset if I was fishing clear water. But there again, as you begin to get more familiar with using a spinnerbait, you're going to critique it and you're going to add little things that's going to work for you. But these are just the basics. If I'm fishing muddy water, I'm going to use solid chartreuse or solid white. In some cases, I might use a Dago orange. But these are the colors that's going to work in stained water for you. There'll be times when you might want to put on a trailer to tease the bass. to make them bite better. A lot of you professional anglers use trailers, and there are some that do not. It all depends on the time and the way that you're fishing. If the fish are real aggressive, and let me back up just a little bit. Spinnerbaits are better used, and I think you're going to generate more strikes if you use spinnerbait in the spring of the year. Spring of the year is the best time to use spinnerbait. In the dead winter, it's not my choice. Not to say you won't catch fish on spinnerbait, but sticking with the basics, you want to use baits that work best depending on the time of the year and the conditions. Spring of the year is, to my way of thinking, is the best time to use spinnerbait. Or if you're fishing in the summertime and you're fishing a lot of current water, where there's a lot of current that's going through trees, that's also a great time to fish spinnerbait. Presentation, again, is most important. If you're fishing a spinnerbait and you got to drop the target in a certain area, you want to use the underhand cast. Let's say you're going to fish a tree, and the trunk of the tree or the back of the tree is right up on the bank, but you want to fish that area. Well, certainly you can't throw it up on the bank and bring it back into the water. Well, if you can, if it's clear, but in a lot of cases, it's going to be so much debris that you can't do it. So what you want to do, you want to make a soft presentation. I like to drop off about a foot, maybe no more than a half a foot of water, of line rather, and use what they call an underhand cast. Just let it roll your wrist, and you see how soft that presentation was? Did you get a shot of that when it hit the water? Great. Let's try it one more time. Not like this. You see how much splash that made? Did y'all get a copy of that? Great, great, great. Let's try it one more time, because this is very important. Presentation is one of the most important things when you're fishing a spinnerbait. Never drop your spinnerbait on top of your target if you don't have to, but if you do, do it as soft a presentation as you possibly can. In some cases, you might want to take the lure in your hand and just flip it and just barely let it go in the water, just like that. Hardly no splash at all. Let's do it one more time. This is called pitching. I said flipping, but it's really pitching. This is called pitching your spinnerbait. Hold it in your hand and just pitch it out. That wasn't good. Let's try it another. The key thing, you want to drop it as soft as possible. That was a very soft cast. Now what's that's going to do? It's not going to run the fish out of your strike zone. In most cases, it's going to make, if he's not looking that direction, he's going to turn around to see what hit the water and be very, very quick to set the hook post. A lot of times he's going to hit it the minute your bait hit the water. I want to thank all of you for being with us today as we discuss the basics on how to use spinnerbait. I certainly hope that the tips that you picked up today will increase your catch, and you'll learn a whole lot more on how to catch bass using a spinnerbait. See you next week, right here on Angler's Paradise.